everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D campaign number 2 of Black Ink and Blue Blood. When we last left off, the party introduced 2 new members into their ranks. Caro, the Lovelander Ranger, and Caleb, the Tabadrin Rogue. Introducing these 2 new members into their ranks, following the first night of the summer ball, the party returned to find their favorite innkeeper, in Raccoon's case, adopted father, and close confidant for some, Lorcan Telbrant, not looking super great. Following a lengthy interrogation, he finally revealed that Raccoon, and through that, the rest of the party, sans Caro, have already been exposed in some form or another to the mysterious substance that's creating the Ichor beasts you've seen here and there. Supposedly, according to Lorcan's story, he was first exposed to this substance via Dr. Watson, which is a pseudonym for the Geogran engineer Dr. Ampere Kaloum, who had supposedly died a decade prior to this. Lorcan, in his slowly deteriorating state, encouraged that the party leave, and as the party confirmed their current states of potential infection of the Ichor, the party is now seated in an empty, closed-down Nortwicks, initially ready to settle down for a long rest, although if there's anything you guys want to do, you are free to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And as you guys gather around the table...
Bill told Lorcan to kill himself.
So as you guys settle around the table and initially prepared for a long rest, just quietly contemplating and processing what you've just discovered over the last couple hours, what would you all like to do?
Shouldn't we take watches? I only need 4 hours. I only need 4 hours of sleep. So I think that, maybe if me and Gil take watches, just in case.
I mean, Zephyr's already left outside the front door.
Fuck you, Zephyr.
Didn't Caleb already arrange a room?
Yeah.
Caleb's going to be staying with Zephyr.
Oh, is he? In my room?
Well, that's what the king said, although Caleb can also easily just negotiate with Lorcan for a room as well.
Oh.
I hope they have 2 beds.
So.
Well, that and the beds are fairly sizable. Like, we've already established that 2 characters could comfortably share one if needed.
We're both small boys.
Speaking
Caleb,
of Lorcan,
just
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Caleb, as soon as Lucian started talking about watches, Caleb just got up, walked to the room, and closed the door, never to be seen this night again.
Well, actually...
Yeah.
How are you going to get inside the room?
Yeah, Zephyr locked and barricaded it.
Actually, why did he barricade the room?
Gil.
I don't know completely.
He's gonna go.
Well, yeah, you would try to open it. Doesn't.
Well, yeah. So hang on. Let's take a moment to see what everyone's doing, and then we'll go from there. So Caleb's heading upstairs. Zephyr's heading outside to climb back into his room through the window. So Lucian, Caro with Garo at your hip, Raccoon, and Lucian. What are you guys doing at the table?
Raccoon, do you want to come have a sleepover with me and Caro?
No, I think I need to stay here tonight.
If you need anything, you run as fast as you can and you come get me, okay?
I will.
All right. So, Lucian and Caro, are you 2 going to head to the guest house for now?
Before I get to sleep and everything, I want to pack all of my stuff, fold my dress really nice, and just kind of... I'm going to go through as much as I can, knowing that 4 hours. I have shit that I have to do.
Caro, anything you want to take care of specifically before joining Lucien at the guest house?
Mm. Uh. So, what's going on?
Okay. So here's the thing. Not too long ago. About how long ago was it? Like a month or two?
At this point, yeah, it's closing in on a month now.
Okay, so about a month ago, I had met Gil and Zephyr on the Titian Express. We were all, for some reason, called to Parha, and we were supposed to check out this warehouse, and in this warehouse we found this monster. It was like it used to be a goblin, but it was like inky and like a big mass of disgustingness, um it's hard to describe. It was coughing and gagging, kind of like Lorcan tonight, but it was a monster at that point. And we had taken care of the monster, and after that it just kind of disappeared. um I'm pretty sure, do I have the the journal?
Nope. I got
Yeah,
that.
Gil has it on him, but you did get a look at it, so you know of it and you know what it contains.
Right. So I explained to Caro, we found the goblin's um, journal, and we found out that um, it was writing with this ink that turned it into this monster. And so that's kind of why we're a little freaked out that most of us have this ink inside of us, because we associate it with this monster. And from what Lorcan was saying, that means that somebody somewhere sacrificed themselves for us. So it's kind of a little offsetting.
I see. Hmm.
I mean,
Well.
I know that this is a lot to come into, Garo. You have your own thing that is going on, but this is big. I mean, not to say that what is going on with you is not big. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that there's what, five of us that have this ink inside of us, and now Lorcan, who is turning into a monster, maybe. Plus, there are some other things that are going on that we are supposed to be doing, but we can't do anymore.
It's
Zephyr's
okay.
not there.
It's okay. You can all group up in the morning.
Carol understands.
Do you happen to know, we were supposed to find out about the Scar Concord? Do you happen to know anything about that?
No. No idea.
Yeah, that would have been too easy, I guess. Tomorrow, I plan on going to see the Queen of Wicked, and then I am going to see my brother, and then I have some business with Shadow Lily present. You saw her at the dance. You remember her, I'm sure.
Yes.
So I have some business with her, but do you think that you could do something for us?
Yes.
That little goblin, the little goblin girl,
Mm-hmm.
she is very important too. I mean, we haven't really known her for very long, but you kind of get attached to the cute little ones. you think that maybe you can help protect her if something bad happens?
Of course. Garo and I will do our best.
Lucian gives Garrow a little scritch behind the ear.
Garrow is very, very content.
I will continue packing. If you have any other questions,
All right, Caro, are you satisfied for now?
Yes.
Okay. Gil and Raccoon downstairs. Do the two of you have anything specific you want to do before heading up for a long rest?
Not really. He's just gonna go change so he can be more comfortable. Make sure all of his weapons are in order, get some sleep, and then arm up.
All right, Raccoon.
Raccoon may end up staying awake a little bit longer, kind of sitting at the table, kind of unsure about what to do with herself.
Okay. Gil. Lorcan has not returned from his private quarters. However, Nortwick's is currently closed off, which is why it kind of surprises you and Raccoon both left sitting below when there's a small, almost tentative knock at the front door.
Gil is going to go towards the door and look and see who it is.
All right. So you're just going to kind of pull it open very cautiously to...
Is there a window?
Not that would give you a clear view of like the front door on its own.
So before I open the door, I'm going to pull out my dagger and have it hidden behind the door if needed, and I will open it just slightly.
Okay. Opening the door very cautiously. To your surprise, you see two figures there, both dressed in not matching but very similar demure sweaters with hooded cloaks. However, the hoods are currently not pulled up. Both very small female figures that you recognize as Queen Blackthorn and your sister.
Oh. Hello, sister.
She kind of gives a very kind of awkward, kind of curt nod, not quite meeting your eyes, and Queen Blackthorn just kind of smiles and gives a wave. And your sister looks around for a moment before kind of hunching her shoulders a bit, as if like to kind of shield her face without having to pull the hood of her cloak up, and nodding to the inside of Lorcan's. Is this a bad time, brother?
That's not a bad time. Come in.
She nods and turns and gives a similar nod to Queen Blackthorn, who follows in behind.
I would then look up and down the street, make sure they weren't followed.
Make a perception check.
$13.
The streets are currently pretty much empty, as most people have turned in following the events of the ball. You do see a fairly attractive human woman with a parasol walking down the street, but that's the only person that seems to be occupying the streets right now.
Okay, I would then shut the door and put a chair in front of it to keep it from moving.
All right, easy enough to do. So Raccoon, you see two figures that you don't recognize super intimately, although you can make a history check if you want to see if you recognize nobility of Yav kind of in passing. But as they're dressed in very casual wear to deliberately kind of conceal themselves, you at an immediate glance don't recognize them. And
yeah, she's not even gonna try.
Yeah,
she's not.
Yeah,
she's
got her own shit going on
at the moment. Yeah.
And Gil, you see your sister Melina and Queen Blackthorn sit at a table near the table you guys usually sit at, but almost as if kind of unconsciously giving Raccoon a bit of space. And you can see your sister raise her eyebrows slightly as you barricade the door.
You
Are
can
you
never be too careful.
Apparently not. Who's after you?
It's
I mean, who isn't?
a very long story.
I imagine. And she kind of bites her lip and kind of twiddles her thumbs a bit, and you can see Queen Blackthorn kind of put a hand on her shoulder and smile, and Melina returns it before sighing, kind of taking a steadying breath and just sitting back and gesturing to the chair across from her.
So I will sit down.
You see your sister taking a very long moment to consider what she wants to say before finally you see her having the barest trace of a smile as she says, "For starters, as reckless and ill-conceived as it was, I do want you to know that I'm not still resentful over your display at the ball tonight."
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
You can see Queen Blackthorn kind of giggle a bit behind her hand, but Melina simply.
Is he really?
And Melina kind of leans forward, still kind of thoughtful, and brother, did the general's behavior at the ball tonight seem off to you?
Yes, it did, but also not. I have grown accustomed to his reactions, but I could have handled it better.
She kind of gives a slow nod. We've all had to adjust in our own way. She kind of taps her fingers, kind of drumming them on the table. I did as you instructed and passed along a warning of this Scar Concord of yours to the general, but, well, you and your friends came up just around when I had finished explaining it, and, I mean, you saw the look on his face.
Yeah.
She thinks for another moment before saying, "That figure in the brown cloak, do you know who they are?"
I don't know, but I want to find out.
She gives a nod and says, "I don't know if this will mean anything to you or even be all that shocking, but I suspect the general might be involved."
Yeah, based on some of the new activities I've been hearing about, I would not be surprised. But I don't know if it's completely his. I don't know if he has a choice.
She,
I want to make a weird request of you.
as long as you don't mind me
not to
making one of
freak
you.
out. I need you to cut yourself. I need to see what your blood looks like.
She kind of raises an eyebrow, and you can see Queen Blackthorn kind of protectively put an arm around her. And
just to demonstrate, I will cut myself and say, "I think Father made a deal," and I will show them my black blood.
As you allow your inky blood to flow freely, both of their eyes go wide, and you can actually see Queen Blackthorn like lean forward as if to touch it, and Melina kind of pulls her back.
I was gonna say, as soon as I see that, I'm gonna move my arm back. Don't touch it.
Melina kind of squints, and as your wound begins to close itself.
His father said that his children died, and I'm starting to believe him on that.
Melina raises an eyebrow and turns to look at Queen Blackthorn, who just kind of nods. It's okay. And reaching behind her cloak, she pulls free a very sleek, angled, almost sort of cubic dagger. Clearly a very custom design. And pulling off a black glove, she takes a deep, steadying breath before thinly slicing across her palm. She takes a moment to clench her fist, both to make sure the results are visible, but also to prepare herself for what she might see, and unfurls her fingers. Red.
Raccoon is going
That's
to
good
get
to
up at this
know.
point and get closer to them and say, even though not seeing the result of that yet, she kind of like holds out her own hand where she'd pricked a finger as well, and was like, "It's more than just him that it's happening."
Melina kind of frowns and just kind of almost unconsciously moves her hand over to Queen Blackthorn, who immediately starts kind of tending to the very slight wound with a very delicate, clearly very like overprotective and cautious mindset. And
Raccoon's gonna offer, "If you want, I have cure wounds. I can do it real quick."
I'm okay. I am a soldier first and my father's daughter second. Nothing I'm not used to.
Doesn't mean you have to deal with a slice across your palm.
uh, Melina gives a smile, kind of looking to you. I appreciate it, but I assure you I'll be okay. And she holds out a hand. Melina Dimebug.
Raccoon.
Uh,
Raccoon. And
she
she pauses for a second, like unsure about whether to say anything else, because she's apparently like 3 different things now. So
yeah, it's a bit of a big day. Not seeming to notice, Melina
and then
shakes your hand.
she just kind of nods to herself and is like, "Yeah, Raccoon."
Melina smiles and gives a nod and shakes your hand. And Gil, you can see a trace of her usual enthusiasm when dealing both with strangers when not around your father, and dealing with things she finds cute, as her shake of the hand, kind of Raccoon, is like kind of jostling you up and down.
Gil would chuckle and then say, "But I do think Father made a deal to, or something.
Indeed.
Someone brought me back."
She gives a very slow nod. I can't say anything on whether anything happened to you, but the stories themselves are indeed true. I assumed it was just a political maneuver to make our individual pursuits less liable to him, but I'll look into it as best I can.
Not
But
to mention, like, we can't exactly confirm for sure that you did die, Gil. We know for a fact that Lorelei did, and that it has something to do with me, but we don't have a confirmation on your end either.
My father said I was
Even
dead.
if, but did he say how?
he was lying when he said it about me, brother.
Well, fair enough, but you can never know these days.
I suppose that's true. And that's part of the reason I'm here. As I said, I have a bit of an odd request for you in exchange for your odd request for me. I will say, you're not the only one with suspicions, of course. I mean, and she kind of gestures. He brought an army to a diplomatic party. You don't bring weapons to a party unless you're planning to do something drastic or you're afraid.
So
Or
there's
both.
a chance he knows that something is going.
And you didn't eat any of the party food, did you?
She kind of shrugs a bit. I stayed with the general the whole time. I didn't have time to eat. And Queen Blackthorn kind of looks around. I ate a lot of it. Should I be worried?
Possibly. Don't eat any more of it.
I still have half the cookie before, right?
Yeah, I don't believe you guys got rid of it or anything. So
All right.
Yeah,
well,
Lucian
I
left it
haven't-
on the table. It's on the table under the glass.
All right. So Raccoon's gonna pit her off and grab it to show.
Melina and Queen Blackthorn take a moment to look at it, and Melina kind of pulls back with a bit of a grimace. What is this?
Absolutely
I would-
no idea, but it doesn't look good.
I'm guessing it's some form of ichor, which is what is in our veins right now. I
Melina.
think they use it to alter people.
Melina and Queen Blackthorn kind of look to each other, and Melina kind of, her brow furrows a bit. If they're managing to sneak it into the party food, Queen Blackthorn gives a nod. With so many people here, how many people are in on this?
A lot.
I feel like at this point, maybe a good chunk of. This isn't something small, so it's got to be like a lot of bigger people that are doing things. And maybe this isn't the only place that it's happening.
Melina gives a nod. Indeed. Well, then that makes this next part a lot easier to justify. And she kind of gives a bit of an awkward smile and leans forward. Gil, regardless of whether you're dead or alive or some sort of ichory monster or not, one thing that you are consistently, however annoying you can be at times, is my brother.
Always.
In light of our suspicions regarding the general, and with all of this only making things trickier, she takes a very deep breath and says, as the one remaining member of the family I can trust, I need you, as my older sibling, to give your blessing on Melina Dimebog and Queen Blackthorn's engagement.
Are you getting mad?
Of
Uh,
course.
Melina kind of gives a bit of a bashful smile and says, it is going to be some time before we announce it to the public, but I'll need the backing of someone in the family to be able to make it official. And I don't know what the general's up to or what he's planning to do, but I don't want any part of it, and I'm not going to have a part of him anymore. With this engagement, I'm going to be putting the Dimebog Hetmanat into the Western Alliance to make moves with your allies against the Scar Concord.
You definitely have my blessing. Though it has just come to me, like, how many of the soldiers might be loyal to you?
She kind of grimaces a bit. Unfortunately, the soldiers that are here, none. But I have soldiers back home who hold more loyalty to me than they do to the Gilgrins, seeing as far as they know, I have no connection to them.
Because if our father has betrayed our country in joining this Scar Concord, should we allow him to continue to rule? I don't want it. I was going to see maybe if, because you know the people better than I do, would you be willing to lead them?
Melina kind of sits back, seeming kind of shocked and contemplative. Gil, the soldiers, if they did know me, they don't anymore. And you may think that the general is betraying his country, but if he is involved, which we still don't know for sure, we don't know why he's doing it or what's motivating him to do it. It may be harder than you think to convince the soldiers that they're on the wrong side.
Well, if they know that they're working with barbers, who I know is in the Scar Concord, everyone knows what they were like.
Melina kind of shakes her head. And that's something else I want to talk to you about, brother. I know you've always been more comfortable on the battlefield than you've been at the parties that the general always wanted you to attend with us, but it's not how politics work, brother. Enemies can become allies, and she snaps her fingers, like that, when circumstances line up. What they did in the past won't mean anything to the soldiers if the general tells them to march.
There's always a common enemy.
True.
Oh, I do have a question for you both though.
Both of them turn to look at you, and you can see both of them kind of have very broad smiles and seem very unconsciously united in that you are the most adorable thing they've seen in a while.
Oh no. Lorcan was unable to get into the party because there was already somebody using his name at the party. Did you meet anybody there using the name Lorcan?
They both look to each other, and Queen Blackthorn shakes her head. No, no one.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I can't be of more help. I'll ask around and see what I can figure out. And Queen Blackthorn gives a nod. I will as well. Oh, before I forget, and you see she looks to both of you. I know you weren't there whenever she first started helping you out, but I'm sure you've had time to meet Carol by now. Are they doing okay?
Oh yeah, Carol's
Yes, they're
delightful.
doing very well.
Queen Blackthorn gives a smile and nod. Good. And finally, Melina leans forward. Thank you for your blessing, brother. It'll be a very long time before the ceremony and before the official announcement. We're both so young, and and she kind of blushes and kind of scratches the back of her head before kind of shaking her head to clear it. But I just wanted to make sure you were safe and tell you to keep your eyes open. I don't know whether it's referring to you or referring to the Concord or referring to anything else that we're not aware of, but the general's already sent out orders to the troops that I managed to intercept a bit, that we're on the lookout for, and she does air quotes, suspicious figures, and we're going to be searching the city tomorrow. So watch where you step and be careful who you aggravate and what fights you start.
I would try.
Well, I also wanted to say if it helps as well, you two are very cute together.
Queen Blackthorn smiles very broadly. Thank you! And Melina just kind of gives her a hug around the side and smiles to you. Thank you, Raccoon. And turning back to you, Gil, Melina kind of gives you a smile, but then kind of gives you a nod before her expression turns serious again. And for what it's worth, I think tonight hopefully has cemented in you something that, among his many failed lessons, that I think is one of the few lessons the generals tried to impart on you that may hold some merit. You need to think before you act, brother. If you ever find yourself in a situation you're not sure what to do, and she kind of thinks for a moment before giving a bit of a smile and shrugging, maybe think,
Let
what
me
would I do?
guess. Well, either you or, as much as I may not completely like her, the other elf that travels with me is very smart in ways that I am not.
You're not stupid, brother. You're brilliant when the situation is suited to you, but you can't force a situation to suit you. Do you understand?
Of course.
Melina tightens her hug around Queen Blackthorn and says, if there's one thing I've learned fairly recently, it's sometimes you need to trust other people whenever you reach your limits.
Yes, but trust is hard.
Indeed it is, but just because it's hard to come by doesn't mean that you shouldn't be willing to give it if the chance arises. I'm not going to tell you who to trust or what to do, brother. I'm just telling you that if you want to avoid getting into trouble in the future, it may be worth thinking about. And with that, she stands up and kind of looks you over before, and you know her well enough as siblings that she's asking you a question that she already kind of knows the answer to. Are you going to be staying in the city for a while?
It is yet to be seen, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not for much longer.
She gives a slow nod and says,
So I
thought-
have to request you and and your fiance need to leave soon. Things are going to be happening, and it will not be pretty. You
Actually,
may not be
that's
safe.
part of the reason I'm here as well. Is we are going to be leaving in a few days, and I wanted to
You
make
need
sure
to leave today.
Her eyes kind of go wide, and Queen Blackthorn kind of looks to her, but Melina is just kind of staring at you before closing her eyes and taking a deep breath. Whether he is with them or not, I can't leave the general's side, especially if he's involved in something he doesn't understand.
Or if he is involved in something he does understand, you could be hurt.
Yes, but... And she tightens her grip around the queen. So could other people if I don't stay to protect them. We're going to be leaving soon, just... I can't leave the general's side. Not yet. I'm not giving up on him.
Gil's going to think to himself. He's then going to reach into his pocket and take out his hat of changing and give it to Melina and say, "This is a hat of disguise. If things go south, use it and get away and find Queen Blackthorn and escape if you can."
Melina's eyes go wide and she looks down at the hat and kind of stares contemplatively before nodding and very delicately accepting it. And she kind of considers for a moment before placing it carefully on her head. And Queen Blackthorn kind of gives a smile and gives her a peck on the cheek. Melina kind of steeples her hands, kind of seeming a bit awkward before nodding and looking at you. Whether you decide to leave or stay, you be careful as well, brother.
I will. I promise.
She gives a smile. If your travels ever send you my way, then hopefully we can sit down and have a discussion under better circumstances. And try not to get into too much trouble. I want to be able to see you at the wedding.
I will definitely be there. How can I ever miss it?
She kind of gives a bit of a smile and says, "Yeah, you never were one to turn down a party. I'll have to make sure we're double stocked on ale."
Yeah, you know me so well.
Melina gives you a small bow and a smile. Take care of yourself. And she kind of gives a light tug on Queen Blackthorn's hand, and the queen nods and looks to the rest of you. It was nice meeting all of you.
You do be careful, alright?
And before they leave, I will move the chair and look outside, make sure it's safe.
Make a perception check.
Can I give him advantage on that?
Go for it.
16.
So perception with advantage, Gil.
So I was gonna say I got a 19 on the first one.
All right. Well, just in case there's a nat 20 in your future, go ahead and make the advantage roll.
You would say that. I just got a nat 20.
Yep, I knew it. Looking around, as before, the streets are empty. You do see the young girl with the parasol
I
walking.
know where he gets his dice.
Yeah. You do see the young girl in the parasol walking the opposite way you'd seen her walking before, but other than that, the streets seem to be empty at the moment.
I will point out the girl in the parasol and say, "Keep an eye on that one, but you should be safe. Get going while you can."
Of course. Take care of yourself, brother, and with any luck, we'll see each other soon.
You all stay safe.
And just as she's about to leave, Gail will kiss her on the forehead and say, "I'm sorry for everything."
Melina nods and gives you a hug. And I'm sorry as well. Stay safe.
You too.
And with that, she pulls Queen Blackthorn out by the hand, and both of them pull the hoods on their cloaks up and begin to disappear into the dawn-lit streets of Mercurial.
I worry about her.
What is there to worry about? She seems like she's very strong.
Yes, but her loyalty will get her injured one day.
Yes, but you could also say that your lack of thought sometimes could keep you from being safe as well.
You got me there, Raccoon.
Somewhere Lucian's like, preach.
No. Somewhere Lucian's like, huh, did Gil just get dunked on?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just really right about something all of a sudden.
I just realized something.
What's up?
What's Gil's class?
Barbarian.
Who would have thought the barbarian would be stealing from the thief?
Yeah, we've all been
Yeah.
making jokes that he's gonna have to multi-class into rogue at some point.
No, he's going bard, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Mhm. But yeah, so with that, Gil, you can proceed with your intended nightly ritual. Raccoon, do you have anything planned, or are you just gonna stay up for a while before going down for a long rest?
she may go visit Lorcan.
Okay. Heading into the kind of shared quarters you have with Lorcan, just beds on opposite sides, although the beds are big enough for you to share under better circumstances. And Lorcan is already just wrapped up in blankets on his bed, and you kind of wince as you enter, as you can already see several black stains in the walls and floor. And as you enter, he gives you a smile and opens his mouth, but he immediately doubles over and coughs and gags and kind of turns and spits, and you can see just this bubble of ink hit the floor.
I wince definitely at that and tried to sidle into the room closer. Like, Lorcan, wanted to come see you.
Lorcan gives a smile, and as he turns to look at you, his eyes just seem bloodshot and hazy. And as he looks at you, you can see his eyes are kind of looking almost over you, like he's not quite looking directly at you. And he kind of gives a smile. It's always good to see you, Raccoon.
It's always good to see you too. And I get closer to the bed, kind of like pulling like a rag, like a clean rag, out of my pocket to like wipe his face.
As you see his eyes kind of very delayed follow the path as you pull the rag out, he smiles a bit, and you can see several ink stains already forming on his teeth as he kind of gives you a smile. I hope that's not the same ones we use for the mugs.
Definitely not. This is my own personal one. Thank you very much.
He gives you kind of a weak smile as he turns and spits more ink onto the floor.
It's kind of obvious at this point that she's just trying to keep like a facade smile up for him.
He kind of lays back and allows you to use the rag to clean him up as best as you can, although it's difficult with him constantly spitting up more fluid.
I wanted to know, how long has all of this been going on? How long have you been hiding this part from me?
He closes his eyes and kind of his face kind of curls a bit, and finally he coughing up a bit more, and you can almost see like bubbles forming as he he kind of moves to like bend over but doesn't quite make it, and ends up just like almost vomiting a bunch of the ink on the side of the bed before just kind of just like slamming back against the backboard with kind of a groan, seeming kind of self-conscious and irritated about it, before finally, my mind is fogging, but it's been years. All the time you can remember that. That's all it was.
She just kind of nods and steps around the ink and sits like close on the edge of the bed in like a clear area, and grabs for his hand.
He kind of stares at your hand and very slowly holds out a trembling hand to gently deposit into your own. And as you look, you can actually see where his veins, you can see he's losing a lot of weight, and you can see where his veins would be. The traditional blue of blood within the body is running pitch black that stands out vibrantly against his pale elven skin.
Raccoon, seeing this, feels kind of hopeless. She doesn't know what to do about all this, and knows very, very awarely that she's probably going to lose him soon, and has a hard time trying to keep back the tears seeing him like this. And she just turns his hand over, palm down, and kind of pats the back of it before giving it a small kiss. And she says, "It's probably time for you to rest then, isn't it?"
He gives a very slow nod and closes his eyes, and without even looking at you says, "Do not weep for me, Raccoon. You gave me something that the most brilliant scholars and educated scientists in the world couldn't give me."
She kind of gives like a half aborted smile and is like, "You already know I'm going to weep over you. There's nothing that's going to stop that."
He kind of gives a smile and just, "Let it not be said I didn't try."
"You did. You tried very, very hard." And she kind of smooths his hair back and helps like lean him back down further into the pillow. And she says, "I'm not going to remember you like this. Of course, I will remember everything that's happening, but once you're gone, I'll just remember all the times we had in the town."
He gives a smile and a nod, and that will give me some peace, as whatever happens to me after happens, it will give me comfort.
"I should hope so. I don't know what I'm going to do without you, though."
He kind of shuffles a bit and turns back to look at you, opening his eyes, and you can actually see that the bloodshot in his eyes is starting to almost widen and spread. His eyes almost being surrounded by this kaleidoscopic effect of bloody red and the white of his pupils. As he kind of forces a very weak smile, just
Wouldn't it be black though?
the Ichor beast they encountered in Perha had blood red eyes.
I swear that's the only place that stays red.
That's a good question. Might want to ask about that when you get the chance.
Mhm.
And kind of turning to you with a weak smile, he says, "Unlike the years before, you're not alone anymore." And he kind of gives a bit of a smile. "You were going to leave me in the tavern by myself." And he kind of starts laughing, but it quickly turns into a hacking, gagging cough, and he turns away from you to spit just this massive, like, gungy pile of ink onto the opposite side of the bed.
"I said yes, thinking I'd be coming back anyways. You wanted me to bring you some souvenirs."
And he kind of smiles a bit. Yeah. And he stops and thinks for a moment before turning to look at you. My point is, you're not by yourself. Whatever happens to me, you have new people to look after you and people for you to look after.
Yeah. Definitely, I guess. I'm scared. And I know you're probably scared too, aren't you?
To your surprise, after a moment's thought, he shakes his head. No. The only fear I have is that something may happen to you and I'm not there to protect you however I can, but do not weep for me and do not be afraid.
I won't be afraid as long as you're looking over me, right?
He gives a smile. Of course. And he gives a nod towards the ceiling. Stay together and watch each other's backs. In a place like this, it's hard to come by people you can trust. But once you find them, protect them like the greatest treasure.
I will. I will. I will definitely listen to you on this, and I will do my best with it all.
He leans back and kind of gives a smile, kind of forcing his expression back over to you. You're listening to me. There's a change. And he kind of chuckles a bit and forces himself to keep his voice clear, but you can see black, pulpy liquid dribbling from his mouth before he finally sighs and leans back against the backboard. Raccoon, you've already done a lot for me, but may I ask you one favor?
Of course, anything.
He looks up, and you can again kind of see that discomforting effect to his eyes. It's not going to be easy getting any sleep like this. Do you still remember the lullaby I used to sing for you when you were young?
You still sing it to me sometimes, yes.
He his face kind of slackens a bit, and he kind of looks around. I suppose I do, don't I?
Yes.
And he kind of shakes his head, and you can see his eye, like watching closely, you can see the red part of the eye actually visibly kind of crack and spread a bit more along his pupil. And he grimaces, frustrated, before leaning back with a sigh and turning to you. You've always been a very talented singer. Like I said, you have her voice. And I still have a bit more time, but I'd love to hear her sing one more time.
Of course. Of course. And she starts lightly rubbing the back of his hand with one of her thumbs and starts to hum the tune before opening her mouth to sing. And she says, "Look there yonder, my quiet young daughter, the moon doth call your name. Through the tavern door you may see the moor where the light shines out its game. It calls out to you, my little one, to tell you your dreams are all said and done, and inspires you to spark a flame. I'm always here, it sings to you, my love shall never be through. And if we do part, just know we shall meet again." And she continues to hum it and sing it over and over until he falls asleep.
As you sing, he falls back, and you can see a smile form on his face. And after you begin to enter into the humming and waiting for him to sleep, his head kind of rolls around a bit and his expression kind of tightens, almost looking confused. And he turns to look at you and opens his eyes. And you can see that the eye that's still nursing a pretty nasty looking black eye is now completely red. And he looks you up and down and speaks in a very confused and foreign tone of voice that you don't recognize. Who are you?
And she kind of smiles sadly and she says, I'm Lorelei.
He nods very slowly, and you watch as a black liquid begins to seep very slowly, almost like tears from the completely red eye. Lorelei.
Mhm.
Yes, I remember. And he buckles over and just, you actually have to step back a bit as he just lets loose a torrent of ink at your feet before kind of stopping to catch his breath and leaning back against the backboard and very lightly and with his hand shaking, gently pulling his hand from your grip. I remember.
What do you remember?
He looks to you and you watch as the red actually parts, almost like something being scrubbed away. And there's still the bloodshot lining, but you can see the eyes of the elf who raised you, and he speaks in his normal tone. I remember my daughter. And he kind of slumps against the backboard, his hand just hanging limply from the mattress, and closes his eyes. And
Orkin?
you can see he's still breathing, but slowly, and every so often his chest will give kind of a heave, and just almost a ball of the ink will drip from his mouth onto the floor. He still seems alive and conscious, but asleep as the ichor does whatever it's doing to him.
And Raccoon is kind of frozen. She doesn't know what to do. She is trembling and crying and frozen, stuck where she's standing near his bed, just watching helpless, unable to even do anything for him.
Matthew?
I was just allowing. Raccoon is there as what is left of your father sleeps before you, the ichor slowly consuming his body and mind. Do you eventually want to settle down for rest or stay at his side?
I think she may stay by his side.
Okay.
I was gonna say, any chance Gail heard her
No.
when she was singing?
No, it was very quiet and you were attending to your own business.
Okay.
So, as everyone heads to their respective areas, Zephyr, make...
Caleb still can't get into his area.
Well,
right?
Yeah, we're doing it one person at a time. So basically all of this is kind of happening simultaneously. So Zephyr, since you headed out a bit before Caleb did. So again, your room is on a higher up floor. So make me an athletics or an acrobatics check to get up to where you are, because you have second story work. How high does second story work let you go without issue?
Well, it basically just gives me, I think, in a way, faster movement. Climbing no longer costs you any movement, and when you make a running jump, yeah, basically just climbing doesn't cost me extra movement. So I move at 30 feet.
So make me an athletics or an acrobatics check, but I'll give you advantage because you have second story work.
Alrighty then. My tiny dice.
Nat 1.
No.
Tiny dice for a tiny character.
Yeah.
As you
That
say,
would be a
nat
21.
one. Come on.
It'd be a 21.
Okay. It doesn't take you too much issue. You climb up and re-enter through your window, and just as you close the window behind you, you actually feel you hear the door being jostled.
Honestly, with how he is right now, you probably just hear thunk of the sound of somebody trying to just do that thing where you walk and open the door at the same time.
Yeah, so you hear definitely the sounds of someone trying to enter your room, but cannot get past your barricade.
Any second, it's gonna hear the sounds of somebody trying to pick the lock.
Well, first things first, Zephyr. So you just entered in, closed the window behind you, and heard someone trying and failing to open your door the manual way. What would you like to do with anything?
Well, I'm awake, so unless it. So, I guess I will proceed to walk up to the door and remove the chair and open the door.
All right. Caleb, as you're starting to get into position to pick it, the door actually swings open, and you see your brother standing there as if he had not just walked out the front door less than 2 minutes ago.
So Caleb's just kneeling down there with like tools out ready to go, and then he just looks up.
Do you need
He just
something?
looks up for a moment. Like, well, I was hoping. Oh shit! There he goes again.
That's fine.
That's my problem with accents.
It's D&D.
I start
It's
doing-
nothing but people like trying and failing to do accents. It's fine.
If
He's
you haven't
basically just
noticed,
gonna-
raccoons is an extremely bastardized Slavic accent. So yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Every time I try to do accents like that, it either turns into one of it always shifts into one of two things: either German or British.
Yeah. So as long as we can understand you, that's what matters.
Every time I try to do that accent, it does that on me. So Kelly's just gonna be like, well, I was trying to find somewhere to sleep. And seeing how I was told by father to keep an eye on you, I thought it made sense.
To keep an eye on me.
Yes, that's what father told me to do. That, and I don't think I have any money to buy a room myself.
Well, doesn't seem like Lorcan's in any mood to negotiate deals or exchange rooms. So I guess at least for tonight you can stay in my room.
Thank you, brother.
All right. As I let him in, I'm going to proceed to lock the door and barricade.
Re-barricade everything.
Re-barricade
Fair enough.
the door.
Easy enough to
Are
do.
you that worried about someone breaking in?
Yeah.
Not worried, but just there is a. I guess I should warn you. There is a party member of ours who I suspect is almost. I would almost say more greedy than us, but debatable.
Who would have imagined that the one trained as a thief would have problems with a thief?
Oh well, the problem is it's not your common thief, but even then, I have some countermeasures in play.
Yeah, I met them I met them a lot more personally than I hoped. Referring to how he walked into the door because he thought it would just open.
Mm-hmm. That is just one of a few, but nonetheless, it's shouldn't bother us, and I think we should get some sleep. Seems like we may or may not have a long day tomorrow.
We've already had a long day.
Yes.
And I've barely been involved in it. I will just get involved, and all of a sudden we're learning stuff about black blood and all this stuff.
Yes, it is complicated, but to me it changes nothing. Nonetheless,
I don't know how people like you could stay so calm.
well, again, the question is, what does this change?
Well, it puts a time limit on things, possibly.
Possibly, maybe, who knows?
Because, well, I guess it depends. The only two possibilities are everyone is like, people are like Raccoon and they are replacing someone, or they are like the innkeeper and are going to turn into a monster. So there may be a time limit on this
Yes.
before some of us start turning into monsters.
And there may be a cure, but for the time being, unless that cure just happens to just stumble upon our way, there's not much that I can do. So if I happen to acquire the money for such a feat, we will see.
Well, if the stories of adventures I've heard anything to go off, you'll probably find the cure if you find the one who made this.
Well, it sounds like the person who made it isn't very far.
They may be sleeping in the same town as us, it seems.
Possibly. I have plans to possibly see them in action tomorrow.
Well, then I guess because I don't have anything else to do, I will accompany. Make sure you can handle yourself.
Well, I guess for now it is a good night, brother.
Good night to you as well, brother. I guess he'll turn in for the night.
All right. As the two rogues settle in for the night, everyone settles in for their personal rests, some more fruitful or fitful than others. Raccoon, you stay with your father. Gil, you sleep somewhat restlessly with the previous conversation running through your head. Lucian?
But also with a big smile, thinking about my sister and how happy she is.
And our attentions turn to the guest house. Lucian, as you complete your meditation, it is now about early afternoon in Mercurial, and you said you wanted to get to doing things pretty much as soon as you woke up, so you can wait for the rest of the party to wake up if you wish, or you can start on your own.
Nope, I'm not gonna wait. I will. I'll leave a note. I'll leave a note for Carol. I'll just say, gone out. I will meet you back at the tavern, and then just kind of like, just leave it somewhere obvious.
Easy enough to do.
Then I will. I'll gear up, make sure that I have everything, and then as soon as I'm done, do I have a way to find out how to find the queen, my queen of Wicked?
You don't know where she's staying. Like, you know she's in the guest house. That's where all the guests of Mercurial stay for the ball. But you don't know exactly what room she's in, so you could try to ask one of the guards, or you could just simply, like, wait and see if she eventually comes out.
I'll go ahead and ask one of the guards. I'll go up to the guard and say, I have some business with Queen. I don't know how to say her first name. Elephine.
LFB.
I was so close. Elephie Wicked. Um, where can I find her? I have some business.
The giant, kind of patrolling the halls, kind of looks at you and kind of frowns. What business do you have with the queen?
How dare you ask a lady what business she has? That is not your place there.
Make me an intimidation check.
I mean, that kind of
Oh,
is his
please
business.
don't fuck up.
It's
Oh,
like-
please don't
It
fuck
does
up.
kind of need,
like,
like by that
So-
logic, all
fuck.
assassins should be women, because then they just be able to walk in.
22.
You see, he doesn't seem really convinced, but remember, you are still operating under the name your brother had been using, and similar to all the other times, you see the guard kind of get that flash of just kind of fear, kind of banding in his head whether his life is worth the paycheck, and apparently the answer comes up in favor of himself as he kind of grunts and says, "May not be awake this early."
You'd be surprised.
He kind of gives a shrug and kind of flicks his head over his shoulder. "Follow," and starts to head upstairs to where the royalty stays.
I will follow.
After a moment, he leads you to one of the second-story rooms, and very delicately as a giant can, gives a knock against the hardwood door. And there's a pause, and you almost think that maybe he was correct and that she's still occupied or perhaps not even here. But after a
Occupado.
moment,
Occupado.
But after a moment, the door does indeed swing open, revealing LFB Wicket. Her hair loosed from its bun, but otherwise as presentable as she ever is. Currently dressed in a very humble blouse with kind of a suit covering over it.
As soon as I see her, I will go into a deep bow and bow my head to her. I will tell her, "It is good to see you, Your Majesty. I have some business with you if it is appropriate at this moment."
The queen kind of looks you over before giving a smile and says, "I can always make time." And she looks up to the giant, gives kind of a flick of her wrist. "Leave us." And the giant kind of gives a kind of eager nod, kind of eager to separate himself from the situation, and steps back as she graciously steps aside and allows you to enter before shutting the doors. As you enter, you see the same very broad, extravagant room that's been seen from occupied by all the royalty. 2 stories in the room itself, although it seems that Queen Wicket has come here alone, as you can see signs of being lived in the second floor bedroom, which is visible from a kind of balcony area. But the other areas where beds are don't seem to have been used.
Forgive me, Your Majesty, for coming so early in the morning slash afternoon. I did not get a chance to talk with you, and I didn't think it was appropriate to do so at the ball. There are some things that I think that we need to talk about.
She kind of tilts her head and kind of raises an eyebrow, but gives a nod. "Of course. And it's no issue to me. I was actually about to head out to browse the grounds and perhaps have some tea in the garden anyway. and she grabs her spectacles from a nearby side table and a hairpin to start tying her hair back, and she just kind of gives you a very simple nod as she starts pulling up her hair. Proceed.
Last night at a there was this gentleman who had come to me, and it was very distasteful in my opinion. You know, I didn't think it was appropriate. He found out that I was here. You know, my family name carries a little bit of weight. I was surprised by um his request. He mentioned that there was this group of people, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Not, of course, before talking to you, of course. Um, and she just kind of like seems like she almost doesn't want to talk about it. Like it makes her physically uncomfortable. Like the meeting itself made her uncomfortable. She's like twiddling her fingers and like not really sure if she should say.
The queen, kind of seeing your hesitance, kind of takes a moment to hold up her hair with one hand, to pat you on the shoulder with the other, and kind of giving you a small smile. It's all right. You don't have to go into all the details here and now. What he was offering you does not seem as important as what he was asking of you in return.
I mean, I think he just wants people of importance in this little group of people that he's, having. It seems very like a harebrained operation, if you know what I mean.
She kind of gives a small nod, kind of narrowing her eyes to you, not like suspiciously, but just like, kind of gauging what you're saying as you're saying it. Because while the information itself is good, your means of acquiring it is false. Make me a deception check.
Okay, I'm not good at this. I don't care.
Deception.
This, yeah. Rolling.
Evil as plain as a scar
That's
on your
exactly
face.
what was going through my head. Oh my goodness, this is not this. Hang on a second. D&D Beyond is being a dick. There we go. I see the shadow of the. It just made the result. There we go. 14.
Okay. As you feed her this story, she kind of narrows his eyes, and you can't really tell just looking at her whether she fully believes you or not, but she does seem willing to let you continue. So she kind of gives a slow nod. Of course, most operations like this tend to be somewhat ricochet and prone to falling apart at the slightest provocation. What exactly are they planning to do? Did they tell you?
I don't know if maybe they talked to you too, but they were wanting. It's like a group of people, like almost like an alliance. They were called. She kind of like snaps her fingers like she's trying to recall, but she actually does recall.
Yeah, kind of feeding into it.
Scar Concord, I think it was. Does this sound familiar to you, Your Grace?
Her brow kind of furrows and she shakes her head. No, I'd heard some whispers that the nations of the West are forming an alliance, but that's all I've heard thus far, at least. I can't say I've been approached for anything like this, although I suspect that involving a nation as large as ours and a plan so hastily constructed from what you've described would be somewhat of a bold move, to put it lightly.
I nod my head. I just wanted to make you aware of the situation. I don't want you to be caught by surprise if somebody else decides that, hey, maybe I should talk to the actual queen. It was really awkward, if you want to my opinion, especially because of I wasn't expecting people to know that I was there.
She kind of gives a kind of curt nod. Of course, I imagine that was distressing, to put it mildly. I'll certainly keep my eyes and ears open. Is there anything else you can tell me about them? Description of the person who approached you, perhaps?
Yeah, he. Let me see. She kind of like furrows her eyebrows, trying to like feel like she's trying to remember. He had like a brown coat on. Um, he didn't like approach me. I was speaking with the General Gyoger, and he was like over in the distance, and then just came up to me. I don't know. It's hard to remember. That night was very hazy. Maybe I drank too much.
And she kind of nods, kind of squinting a bit, but otherwise.
That's when you go on to say there was no alcohol at the party.
Yeah. But she gives a nod. I'll keep an eye out and make sure I'm prepared should such a deal be offered to myself. Is there anything else you think I need to know?
Well, the Shadow Lily Confederacy is also making an alliance against barbarous, which I very.
Indeed, they're the ones spearheading the Alliance of Western Nations that I mentioned.
Oh no, this one is different. That I am talking about this whatever Concord thing. The Shadow Lily president has asked for some assistance. I or, but besides that, nothing really comes to mind.
She kind of looks you over before giving you a slow nod. Of course. And I understand you, for reasons that are quite obvious for anyone at a party like this one, that you may be hesitant to share the full details with me, and I won't force your hand on the matter. And she kind of gives you a nod. Much as I may be hesitant to trust the source you've given, I will trust that your information itself is good, and make sure myself and those I consider close are prepared and informed.
I give a slow nod. As always, Your Majesty, very wise of you. There is one itsy bitsy kind of favor I wanted to ask of you.
She kind of gives a bit of a smirk. Bold move, coming in here with information that you're hesitant to share in being completely forthright, and then ask a favor of me. What can I do for you?
Well, at the party, you said that I could come to asking, some things. Back in Wicked, my home, everything that I have, is it all still, there?
She gives a kind of hesitant nod. Last I had anyone check in on it, it was, but it is not exactly my place to be doing personal investigations on things like that. The deed is currently owned by, and she thinks for a moment before kind of shaking her head with kind of like a, oh yeah, kind of expression, and says, the person who saw fit to fake your death for you and impersonate you. So it is not my land to trespass upon, but in what inspections I was able to get away with, everything still seems to be in its place. Definitely isn't being inhabited at the moment.
May I ask Her Majesty what name it is under?
She nods. Lucien Elefakir, as it was before everything, and as it was after.
I kind of nod and look a little sad. Um, do you think? I mean, I still have all of those papers that you have given me before, with your signature saying that I am, I am Lucien here, and family yada yada. Um, I don't suppose that would still hold.
She kind of hesitates before giving a slow nod. It would at least hold up to a superficial investigation, but I'm afraid my hands would be somewhat tied if you decided to trespass upon the land now.
I kind of give a pathetic nod.
I'll do what I can, but I'm not exactly a firm believer in ideas like castle doctrine, but there's not a lot I can do if someone decides to defend themselves from trespassers.
I kind of give a nod. I am heading back home for a little while, at least, with some friends, actually, which is why I asked about home.
She raises a hand and says, you and your party will be welcomed with open arms, and I'll see about having some background checks run on your family home.
Your Majesty, you are amazing. I really appreciate it.
She kind of chuckles a bit and gives you a bow. Thank you. And pardon me for assuming, and I apologize if this dregs up any wounds, but am I to understand it that your brother is the one pulling some strings behind my back?
I look very sad, and if do you want me to bring him to justice?
She shakes her head. No. At the very least, I don't think it is my place to deliver that justice unless you decide to throw him into my hands. I only ask because, well, I had of course known that, or rather thought, that you and your father both had died that day. Whenever I was asked by what was left of your family to preserve the family home, it was under you and your father's shared name, which is why I ask, as it surprises me that if it was your brother pulling strings, that he would not make the effort of putting the land under his name.
Well, as somebody once told me to think like the enemy, if I were to try to, have some power to myself, I would give myself a powerful name, like my father. So maybe that was his thinking.
I suppose that does make some sense. I'll look into it. Is there anything else I can do for you? And she kind of pushes up her spectacles with one hand.
I shake my head and give her a deep bow. You have already done more than I could ever ask for, Your Majesty.
Let it not be said that I do not live in the service of others. Take care of yourself, Lucien. And she kind of gives us a smile, but like clearly appears empathetic and serious with her words. Try not to die again.
Lucian kind of gives a giggle and smiles as she sees her way out. I'll do what I can, Steve.
Of course. See you next time I see you. And with that, the door shuts.
I wonder if this party having people different answers is ever going to cause a conflict.
Quite possibly.
So the next thing I'm going to do, I am going to make haste and head towards Dr. Watson's clinic.
Okay. Easy enough to do. Bear in mind, to get to the guest house and all the way back to the clinic, it will, like, basically by this point, the party will start to wake up. So you can probably finish up whatever you want to do there just as the party's going to start waking up. Just bear that in mind.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay. So bear that in mind, everyone else. That
Wicket's relationships with, like, the other members' houses.
make a history check.
What? Oh, you gotta make me do a history check.
Nothing goes for
not
free.
Even on screen.
All right, we'll come back to you. You already know where the clinic is, so you don't exactly have to investigate for it. You head to the clinic. Do you want to just knock on the door?
Yeah, does it seem like anybody's home?
Make a perception check.
Perception. Okie dokie, I can do that. Oh shit. You okay?
Perception.
Perception. It's not rolling again. Stop being a dick, please.
In the meanwhile, Caleb, were you able to roll your history, or you?
Oh shit! I didn't realize you were having me roll history.
Oh yeah, like if you actually want to know, like, what Wicket's political stances are.
Well, he's not gonna know, so don't bother.
That's shit. It's 10.
All right. It's hard to tell as it's getting into kind of the early morning now. So if there were lights on, they'd be off by now. And Caleb, I'll say even if you got a very low roll, you would know just the obvious stuff. Wicket tends to be very friendly with most people. However, they do have a bit of a complex of jumping into political conflicts if they perceive that a smaller, less powerful and influential group is being kind of stepped on by a larger, more influential one, regardless of the actual ethics or policies being debated.
That's interesting.
So yeah, and Lucian, it's hard to tell, but you can knock and see if anyone answers.
Yeah, I'll knock on the door, try to see if I can't get somebody's attention.
All right. You give a firm knock. About a minute passes. 2. And you're just about to think, like, it's a big house, but he probably either didn't hear me or there's nobody home, when the door finally swings open. You see Dr. Watson, quote unquote, now dressed in a fine navy, not navy blue, but like a very dark turquoise blue jacket with gold trim and lining, with among his usual accoutrement, you can see a pocket watch trailing from one of his pockets, and he kind of looks you up and down before giving a smile. Well, this is a surprise. What can I do for you?
Sorry to budge in like this, Dr. Watson. It's a beautiful day. I thought, oh, hi. I thought that maybe if my brother was around, I could take him to the carnival.
He kind of gives a bit of a smile. Well, I'm afraid he actually beat you to the punch on that one. He actually went in my stead to the tournament to make it clear that our team will unfortunately be unable to participate, seeing as we're leaving town shortly. We won't be around for the finals, so we wouldn't be able to pick up our prize even if we won.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he'll probably be at the event.
Indeed. You'll likely, if not find him immediately after, then find him wandering the carnival grounds looking for something to entertain himself with.
Lucian will give a chuckle. Typical. It's good to see you, Dr. Watson. Are you doing well?
And to you as well. I'm doing fantastically. Just packing up my many things, and he kind of gives a chuckle as he waves his hands to the still elaborate living area behind him. But give my regards to your brother, of course. And are we still on for tea and some intellectual discussion on the airship soon?
That is a really good question. Raccoon is not doing so good with Lorcan, very, very sick. I think that if we are going to discussions, it might just be some of us. It's not really. I can have a message sent to you later on today, if that is okay.
Of course. I'll make sure to keep my box open. How is Lorcan doing? Is his condition improving at all?
Last time I saw, he was still like really bad.
He kind of gives a frown. That's a shame. Perhaps I'll have to upgrade the dosage then. I'll see what I can do for him before leaving. Let it not be said that Dr. Watson does not properly treat his patients before proceeding to the next ones.
But
Oof.
I won't trouble you too much, Dr. Watson. I was really hoping to spend some time with my brother before he leaves.
Of course, understandable. As I said, give him my regards, and it was a pleasure to see you. I hope we can have one more intellectual meeting before we must part ways.
I would very much like that, to be honest with you. But like I said, we'd rather, being with Raccoon, not for very long, we still want to be there for her. She's struggling.
Of course, and give my regards to Lorcan as well. I do hope his condition improves soon.
We all do.
Oof.
I give a bow and
Fuck you, Watson. Fuck you, Watson.
I know.
fuck you,
I
Watson,
give a
fuck you,
bow,
Watson.
turn around, and
Bruh.
just like mouth, fuck you. Of course, I'm facing away from him, and I head towards the arena. See if I can't find Lucifer.
All right. Watson returns your bow and gives you a smile before shutting the door as you turn to leave. All right. By this point, the rest of the party will be waking up in their respective areas. So, for the sake of brevity, bless you. Lucien, do you want to wait for the party before going to find Lucifer, or just head off to do
Nope,
that?
I'm gonna head off.
All right. So, in that case, is everyone content to just since a few of you are staying in separate areas, is everyone content to just meet at Nortwick's? Just at your usual table, just so we can get the party in one place once personal business has been tended to.
Well,
I
I
think,
did want to talk to Summer.
Okay.
And Raccoon also probably may go get Dr. Watson anyways, because maybe he may be able to know something that could ease Lorcan's pain anyways.
Okay. All right. In that case, the party's going to stay split for a bit. Apologies to those who aren't getting a whole lot of screen time. It's just a lot of personal stuff is being resolved.
And didn't Zephyr have a thing he was gonna do?
Is that true, Zephyr?
Well, I mean,
his thing I think involves the whole party. So we'll wait.
Involved with Lucian right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So okay.
So
So
we're on the to-do list.
So Raccoon, Gil, and Lucien having personal business to resolve. Lucien, since we were already doing your thing, we'll go ahead and just continue with yours. Easy enough to do. You make your way to the arena.
Making my way.
Making your way. And as you approach, you actually see that there's already the typical crowd forming. However, the kind of audience murmuring is very subdued. Do you want to just enter or wait for whatever's happening to end and then see if you can catch them on the way out?
I will wait around. I don't get into any crowds because I might lose them in the crowd.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you wait a while. And as you're waiting, you can actually hear from inside the arena, as it's not a like massive stadium or anything. You can actually hear from the inside Lucifer's voice, boosted via thaumaturgy, saying, "Yes, I am very sorry, but as important business has come up for the doctor at the last minute, we're going to be accompanying them out to the city, so we would not be around for the final round. So the red team is unfortunately going to be dropping out." And you can hear kind of disappointed, like yelling from the audience who had already gathered up to see the fight. But you can hear
Probably
the
bet on them too.
yeah. But you can actually hear the announcer just yell his sheer yelling, able to equal magically boosted yelling, as he says, "Very well. Victory goes to the green team by default. Hopefully we can see a better fight tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen." And you can hear the crowd kind of just muttering angrily to each other.
Definitely like have like a stage fight, but you know.
Eventually, the crowd begins to very angrily and impatiently disperse from the arena. And Austin, to be fair, this was very last minute on Red Team's part. So, and Lucien, sure enough, as there's only like 2 exits and the arena's not particularly large, you see Lucifer exiting, dressed fully in his armor and accoutrement, exiting, kind of giving the crowd a bit of a wide berth, seeming just more habitual than actually being afraid of them, though. And he actually sees you as you're kind of scanning the crowd for him, and gives you a smile and a wave and starts to make his way towards you.
I give him an awkward wave.
Hello, I'm sorry if you came to see the fight, but I'm assuming you probably heard me, yes?
Yes, you are very loud.
He kind of gives a chuckle and a smile. Lots of people, big arena. I have to make sure people can hear me.
Of course. Actually, I came to find you. I went to the clinic first to try to find you, but Dr. Watson told me that you were here.
Do you think I'm just at the clinic all the time?
I'm not gonna tell you what I think.
Yes.
He kind of blushes and just mutters to himself before shaking his head. So what did you need me for?
I wanted to spend some time with you. Is that so bad?
Yes.
I got him.
He kind of narrows his eyes. You were very angry at me at the ball. Is that what this is about?
Yeah, I can't. You see, you can't lie to me. I can't lie to you. I have some things that we need to clear. And I know that you said that you wanted to wait, but I don't have that kind of time anymore, Lucifer. We need to talk. Please.
His expression becomes increasingly concerned, and he kind of looks around before kind of gently nudging for you to walk, leading away from the fairgrounds and actually towards the city in the direction of the guest house. Yes, of course. And kind of looking around to ensure that nobody is following or eavesdropping. And as he turns to you, you can actually see his eye still circling around, like in a very, like almost like Falcon-esque, like slow, consistent speed circle. What is it? What's wrong?
I know what you did.
He kind of tilts his head to the side. I did a lot of things. You're going to have to be more specific.
Typical. I met with the Queen. Queen of Wicked.
He kind of gives a slow nod. Okay.
She told me that everybody thought that I had died along with. I kind of like give him a very stern look.
And you can see his face kind of tightens and his complexion goes very pale, and you can immediately see him starting to kind of sweat a bit as he kind of shakes his head and kind of looks away from you, kind of forcing himself into a more neutral expression. I do not know what you're talking about. I had nothing to do with that.
I put my hand on his shoulder. Lucifer, I need you to tell me the truth.
He takes a kind of deep breath and turns to look at you. How much have you already figured out?
Well, that's one of the things that I want. Did I cut out?
A little bit. Just repeat the last
I'm
part.
sorry. Okay. So she said, that's actually one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. There are things that I know, but there are a lot that I don't know. And that's why I need you to tell me the truth. Of
I haven't lied to you. There are just things that I'm not allowed to tell you. But because if I tell you right now, remember what I said. If I tell you right now, it'll be, oh, now I know things right now. But then it's not good over a long period of time. But if I don't tell you right now, it'll be much better later.
As much as okay, she's like trying to like be very patient with him. Look, I understand that you are all, I want, dramatic effect, drama. I know you, Mr. Drama Queen, but this is not the time. I'm scared.
He immediately just comes to a halt and turns to look at you and has a very pained but sympathetic expression as he kind of shakes his head. You don't know me as well as you think you do. It's not about being
That's
dramatic or trying to do my usual business. I mean it whenever I say that it'll be good for both of us if I don't tell you everything right now. But if you've already figured some things out on your own, they didn't say that I couldn't say whether any of your individual theories are right or wrong.
I kind of look around. Is anybody seeming to like listening or?
Make a perception check.
Okay. As I do that, I want to kind of tug him and just say, "I think we need to go inside for this." Fuck. 14.
Looking around in the direction you're going, especially because you're kind of in that like awkward middle ground between the fairgrounds and the actual city proper. You're pretty much in a completely isolated area. And he gives a nod and allows you to pull him along. Where are you planning to take him?
I'm gonna take him to my room.
Okay. So
How long is this taking?
you're going back and forth across the city. So I will say again, for the sake of keeping the party together, Kara will be awake and getting ready by the time you arrive back at your room.
Okay. As soon as we get there, I'm gonna close the door and lock it, and point
Okay.
at the chair, point at the desk chair, and just say, "Sit."
Lucifer kind of puts up his hands in a kind of surrendering motion and sits down. Caro, as you're waking up and assembling yourself, you do find the note that Lucian left for you. So unless you say otherwise, you're not too worried, as they said they would be coming back shortly. And sure enough, as you're assembling your gear and getting ready to start the day, the door opens and in enters Lucian and the elvish person you recognize from the ball as a picture-perfect replica of them, just with a buzz-cut head of hair instead of the long, wavy hair of Lucian.
Oh, it's your doppelganger.
Actually, this is my.
Everybody around this? Just
No,
No,
this is in the guest house.
This is my twin brother, Lucifer.
Hello.
Carol, Lucifer, Carol. Hi. Sorry, my dog just decided to come into my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. And Lucifer smiles and holds out his unscarred hand towards you, Caro. It is a pleasure. We do not see many Lovelanders this far away from the swamps.
Does he have a glove on or no?
Him or you?
Him.
Yeah, he's in his armor, so he has like the full set.
Okay. She takes his hand and shakes it.
He gives a smile and turns to look to Lucien with a kind of lazy smile. I hope that I'm not intruding on anything, but you said you wanted to interrogate me for a bit?
I wouldn't call it interrogation, Brad.
He smiles. Right. As far as anyone associated with me is going to know, you just said words, and I nodded or shook my head. Whether that had any significance is up to individual interpretation, yes?
Cunning as always, brother.
He smiles. I would not be here if I did not have my brains to keep my feet moving.
Okay, so very, very carefully, Lucienne is just gonna, as she does when she is thinking or is nervous, she's going to pace around the floor. Like I said, I talked to the queen, and she had informed me that everybody thought that I had died along with father.
Lucifer nods.
Does Dr. Watson own our house now?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. She asks, does Dr. Watson own our house now?
Lucifer shakes his head.
What about Dr. Knight?
He kind of, like, you can see him kind of get that face of, like, restraining a laugh before shaking his head again.
I kind of narrow my eyes at him. I'm going to, as we're talking, cast.
Ooh, spell casting.
Yes, I have this prepared. Thought about it. I'm going to cast Zone of Truth.
I figured. So I believe that's a wisdom save. What's your DC?
Wisdom save, charisma saving throw of 14.
Okay. All right. And does it remind me? Does it tell you if they succeeded or failed, or is it just
Yes,
you
it
kind of?
does.
Okay. As you cast this spell, he succeeds the save, and he kind of leans back with a smile. Do you not trust me?
I kind of give him a "what do you think" look.
He kind of frowns and leans forward, kind of putting his elbows on his knees. I promised you I would not lie to you. There are things I can't tell you, but I'm not going to be dishonest either.
Do you own it?
He gives a nod. Yes.
That was in character, by the way. Okay. Lucian still is pacing the floor. What do you know about? Okay, I know. Okay, let me rephrase. I know that you were.
Now you're getting it.
I know that you were somewhere near Perha before, and you had met with a goblin. Is this not right?
He gives a nod.
Did you have something to do with why he became what he became?
He kind of stares at you for a moment, kind of glances to Caro and kind of nudges his head towards Caro. How much are you willing for them to know?
She is with us. It's okay.
He kind of gives you a nod, Caro. Making new friends all the time, eh, sister?
I try.
He turns his attention back to you, and after a moment gives a nod.
Is it because, as you put, they made you?
He actually seems kind of stumped by that question and kind of tilts his head to the side and thinks for a long while before shaking his head.
I kind of nod my head at that. On the desk, I'm sure that there's probably like a letter opener or something.
Yeah, there's just a variety of like small little like
So-
knickknacks.
I go past him and I take the letter opener and I slice my finger, and before I show it to him, I stare him down, and then
You
I
can
show
see-
him.
Before you even turn to show your hand, the moment you pull the letter opener across your palm, he takes in a very obvious kind of hissing intake of breath, and his prosthetic eye immediately starts like rolling around like in a frenzy.
I show him. Do you have this too?
He immediately shakes his head.
Did you do this?
He shakes his head again.
Do you know who did it?
He nods.
Lucian looks pained, and she just kind of starts pacing again, trying to carefully word what she wants to say next. She looks at her finger and then looks back at him. Is this a part of... And she just kind of looks around, even though she knows that nobody's there. She whispers, "The Scar Concord."
He kind of stares at you for a moment before slowly nodding.
I nod with him. Are they making you do things?
Again, he kind of gets that stumped expression, like he's not quite sure how to answer this with a simple yes or no, but after about a minute of just uninterrupted silence and thinking on his part, he shakes his head.
Before I left Wicked, before you left Wicked, you told me something. Do you remember what you told me?
He smiles and says that I would get you on my side one day.
She kind of swallows hard and nods. Is this what you meant by that?
He again seems stumped, and you can see the eye very slowly circle the area, almost his own private way of checking for eavesdroppers, before leaning back and closing his eyes with a sigh, and this time decides to answer verbally. Yes and no. Again, there are parts of it that I can't tell you, but this one's also too complicated for me to simply nod or shake my head at.
I nod my head.
The best answer I can give you is that it's a little bit of both. This is not what I had in mind, but it is what I wanted. Does that make sense?
I shake my head.
He kind of gives a smile. Yes. If I give you more information, will you make me a promise, no matter what it is?
Insight check.
Go for it.
I trust them
Make it.
about as far as I can throw them. My phone decided to blow up with messages. Hang on. Go away. rolling 23.
He actually seems legitimately. You can tell that he's like kind of like you can tell he has like a private agenda, although you can't tell what it is just from an insight check. But he does seem legitimately forthright in that he will give you the information if you agree to whatever promise he wants you to make.
There are some things that I cannot promise. You do understand that, do you not?
He gives a shrug and says, "Okay, I will tell you the promise first, and if you don't want to do it, then you do not get the information you want."
I can agree to that.
He smiles and stands up and holds out the part of his armor where beneath is his heavily scarred arm. "I want you to promise me on the graves of our parents that you will not follow me to Wicket when the ball is over. I do want you to be there with me when this is all over, but I don't, because I know." And he kind of chuckles and gives you the same kind of expression you often give him. "I know you as well as you know me, and I know that you're going to take the first opportunity to make a beeline straight there, and I need time, and you won't understand if you see it before I'm done. I need to finish what I'm doing, and then you can see it. You understand?"
I kind of wanna. I'm looking at his face, and Lucien is both surprised and not surprised at the same time.
He kind of gives you a somewhat guilty expression and says, "For a while I meant it whenever I said that I wanted you to go there with me, but whenever Dr. Watson said that we needed to leave, he said that only people we trusted were allowed to come with us.
Do you not trust me, brother?
I trust you, but he doesn't, and the others don't either."
I slowly, very slowly, give him my hand.
He grasps your hand with his armored gauntlet and shakes your hand, and he gives a very gentle, friendly smile and says, "You can return to Wicket. Just all I'm asking is that you don't go straight there. Give me time. Give me a month, maybe two."
Okay.
I kind of raise my eyebrows.
He kind of like tilts his head to the side, kind of pouting a bit, and just, "It's going to take you a while to get there anyway."
She kind of gives him a wry laugh at that. I think that there is other things that people in whatever this group of people that I am in have to do anyways.
He gives a nod. "If it makes you feel better, I will send you a message as soon as I'm ready for you. I want you to be there whenever it's ready, but not before."
Can I incite him again?
Yeah, go for it.
I
Really
do
don't
not.
trust your own brother.
Oh,
I
you have
mean,
no fucking idea.
yeah.
Okay. Can I use my inspiration to reroll? Because I rolled a natural 5.
Yeah, that's what inspiration's for.
Okay.
I bet Caleb would trust his brother more than they do.
Yeah, you probably
Caleb's-
would.
Caleb or Zephyr's trustworthy-ish.
Fuck! Not any better. 11.
Hard to read. You do know him well enough that he seems to believe it himself, but you can't really gauge whether what he's saying is factually trustworthy or not.
Right, so like he believes in what he is saying.
Yeah, so basically, like, for instance, like, he seems to believe it when he says, "Oh, I'll send you a message as soon as I'm ready," but you can't tell whether he knows that he'd be able to in the first place or not.
How about this? That crinkling noise. It's a little offset. It's a little offsetting. It's okay. It's just a little
I forgot I
offsetting.
wasn't muted.
It's okay. How about this? When I feel like the time that you have had enough time, I will send you a message.
He gives a smile. Done. As long, like I said, you can go there. Just, don't be rushing before I'm finished, because I'm going to be there very quickly. But I need time.
I feel like I'm going to regret this, but I promise.
He gives a nod. And I promise I will make sure you get the chance to see it. I won't do anything that you wouldn't want me to do. And with that, he lets go of you and sits back in the chair.
I already know that one's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And crosses his legs. So, what do you want to know?
Everything you know about the Scar Concord.
He bites his lip and says, "There's not a lot I can tell you. Not that I don't want to, but there's things I just don't know." And he thinks for a moment and says, "Everyone in the Concord has their own personal thing they want to do. I like to think I'm friends with a few of them, but they tend to keep to themselves." And he kind of chuckles a bit. Most of us don't really like each other. We work together because we have an objective, but we don't get along. So I don't know what all of them are wanting to do. I just know where they're planning to go next and what our personal jobs are, but I don't know why they're doing it or how they're planning to go about it exactly.
Who's in it?
He raises a hand, and he looks like he's going to start counting down, but he holds up his other hand with one finger raised. "This will count as your one bit of information, so I cannot tell you anything else if I tell you this."
Lucian thinks for a second and then nods.
He smiles and starts counting down on his fingers. "Dr. Dinah Knight, Governor Barbarous, President Ergos, General Gioger, King Tebedra, Queen Wyborn, the Father Khan," and he kind of nods to himself, kind of double checking in his head. "Dr. Watson, me, Captain Droop," and he kind of furrows his brow a bit and leans back. "Our Lady who assembled us all."
I'm sorry, who?
Our Lady. She doesn't
Our
have
Lady.
a name, but that's what we all call her.
Okay.
Mysterious.
Just so I have my notes right, he said Dr. Knight, Barbarous, Ergo, Gioger, Tebedra. I missed the one after Tebedra.
Queen Wyborn and the Father Khan.
Okay.
Which those ones you already knew from King Tebedra, so.
I offer him. Oh, go ahead.
He raised his hand. "I almost forgot. He helps, but he kind of winces a bit. He's a bit annoying. Mr. Tropubikok."
What the fuck was that
Fucking
again?
knew it. That motherfucker.
They met him in a previous session.
I heard booby cock. What?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, he's a bird, so.
So I wasn't hearing incorrectly.
Oh, sorry.
His name is Tropubikok.
Okay. Since I already have the spelling of that,
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. I can't say anything.
Okay, so after that,
I will point out there is a bird called a booby and another bird called a great tit. So, I mean, having a ridiculous name for a bird man isn't that out of left field.
Oh no, no.
After he tells me that, I offer him my hand.
He smiles and extends his arm to take it.
I bring him to me for a hug.
He returns the hug and pats you on the back. "Hopefully this makes you feel better with whatever you were angry with me about."
Not really.
He kind of grimaces a bit, but shrugs and kind of leans back and kind of glances to you, Kara, with a smile before returning his gaze to Lucian. That is okay. Everything will be very good soon.
I have one more yes or no question for you.
He gives a shrug. Okay.
Did I die?
He stares at you for a long moment, and you can see him glance down to the palm that you had cut before glancing back to you. And he nods.
I give him another hug.
He returns it and he hugs you very tightly before stepping back and giving you a bow. It was good seeing you again. I hope this helps you but doesn't help you too much, and he kind of gestures with his hands. Conflict of interest and all that. And he nods to you, Carol. It was nice meeting you.
Oh, can Kero ask you a question?
Lucifer gives a smile. Carol May?
Does the Concorde have a large ship?
He gives a nod and gestures upwards. This one I can actually answer without nodding or shaking my head. That is Mr. Becock's airship. He's very proud of it.
Kero gets a stern look suddenly.
He gives a smile, seeming either oblivious to that look or just not caring. And with a swish of his golden cloak, turns to you, Lucian. Is there anything else you need from me?
I love you.
He actually seems genuinely startled for a moment before relaxing and smiling. I love you too. I'll see you soon.
Do svidania.
He gives you a smile and a bow. Do svidania. And with that, slips out of the room and shuts the door behind him.
As soon as he's gone, I'm gonna sit in the chair that he was sitting in and start crying.
Kero's gonna lean down, just Kero, comfort her.
The tiger kind of slinks off of the bed and kind of nestles its very large head between your arms, Lucian, to basically just provide you a crying pillow.
I hug him around his neck and sob into his fur.
Okay. With that, the rest of the party is awake by this point. Gil, I know you said that you have some business with the Tebadrins, so you want to just head straight to the guest house for that?
Yes.
All right. While he's doing that, what are the rest of you doing? The ones not in the tavern. So Zephyr, that's okay. Zephyr, Caleb, and Raccoon. What do the three of you want to do for the day?
Raccoon is going to see Dr. Watson.
Okay.
It depends on how long Lucian's gonna take. Just
Well, so for now, do you want to just say you and Caleb are going to wait at the tavern for everyone to get back?
Fuck you! I'm like literally crying right now.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, Zephyr doesn't know anything's going on. You said that you were gonna go talk to him, and when he woke up, and
Yeah.
how many hours is gonna go by?
Not very. She'll probably compose herself in the next few minutes and then head back.
Well, even
Okay.
then, it's still been a while, but
So you're just going to wait?
for now.
Okay. Caleb, you content to wait with him?
Yes.
All right. As Gil leaves, the two of you sit down in an empty and lifeless Nortwicks, as with nobody able to run it, it is simply closed to everyone. Raccoon, having gone a more or less sleepless night, you stay with Lorcan, who continues to very restlessly and uncomfortably sleep. And as you watch, you can see the inky black in his veins is actually starting to spread, creating almost like spider web patterns around his wrists and fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Gil, you approach the guest house, and the guard kind of holds up a hand as you approach. Name, please.
Name is Lee, and I'm not on your list. I'm just wanting to talk to Lady Summer, the Daedra.
He kind of squints before
This
giving.
guard though, he's like, sees somebody walk. Oh shit! Here
Yeah.
we go again.
Yeah, the guards hate the party at this point. He gestures a small distance into the topiary garden. Please wait. And he knocks on the door, and another giant opens it, and he mumbles to him in giant before that giant disappears. Are you content to just wait in the garden to see if Summer answers your call?
Yes.
Be like, oh shit! Here we go again.
After a moment, the door opens, and Summer Tebedra steps out. Her hair is down, and she's still cleaned up, but you can tell that she had kind of put herself together very hastily to be outside, as she kind of squints a bit in the morning light, and it seems like she probably just got up and got herself dressed to answer you. Dressed in a very simple, casual green overcoat, as she approaches you, and she kind of rubs her eyes a bit before shaking her head to clear it as she steps towards you, and kind of takes a deep breath to kind of shake herself awake before tilting her head to the side as she approaches you. What's up?
Sorry to wake you, but we were planning to leave pretty soon as well, and I had some things come to light that I wanted to talk to you about.
Her eyes kind of go wide, and she glances around a bit, but the guard is just at the door, and you're a good distance away from him. So she nods and gestures to one of the nearby tables for the nobility to have their tea parties while at the guest house, and sits down at one of them, allowing you to sit across from her if you wish.
Which I will do.
She leans forward and kind of tightens the coat around herself and kind of buttoning it up. She kind of gives a completely humorless smile and says, "It's about time somebody thought it was fit to share some actual information with me." And she leans forward and with her arm on the table. "What'd you find out?"
Well, for one, most of us have been infected with some sort of black ichor, including Zephyr and Caleb, along with myself and Lucian.
Her eyes go wide, and she kind of steps back. And you can see her kind of looking you up and down, as if expecting to see some visual symptoms. And
No,
she's
not in that way. It's just for some reason our blood is black.
she
We have no other symptoms that we know of.
She kind of squints a bit and looks around before drawing a very small pocket dagger. Mind if I test that?
I'll give her my arm.
She
Before I do that, I'll say, do not let it touch your actual skin.
She smiles. "Believe me, I have some experience with not letting chemicals touch me directly." And with that, she reaches into her pocket and, seeming very energetic and excited, pulls a vial from her jacket pocket. "Always come prepared." And she maneuvers your hand so that your thumb is over the vial and draws the blade of the small knife across your thumb. And you both stare, and red.
What? It was black just a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She tilts her head to the side and kind of wipe. She goes to wipe the blade of the dagger against the tablecloth, but kind of thinks better of it and just carefully wraps up the blade in a handkerchief before pocketing it. "Maybe it's asymptomatic and only gets exposed under certain conditions." How did you find this out?
I was in the tavern.
She kind of looks at you and does the hand motion of go on.
Yeah.
Let me see. First, Raccoon cut herself. Then Lucian. Then me. Then Zephyr.
Well,
and Caleb.
no, Caleb did his. Well, Caleb showed him that he was infected by it already cut, and then y'all forced Zephyr to do it. Well,
Well, I'm just going based off of
I
what
think technically
he's
Caleb
remembering.
did it first, but he was away from everybody.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
you showed off after some people showed theirs.
And Summer leans back, kind of crossing her legs under the table, and says, "Let's do a little experiment." And she pulls another dagger clean from a jacket pocket and twirls it between her fingers before holding the handle out to you. You try this time. Try to get as much of it in the vial as you can.
I will then put it like around my elbow. I will actually prick the vein there and see what happens.
As you carefully prick yourself, black bubbling ink flows free from the wound. And you collect as much of it into the vial as you can. And Summer's just watching with fascination as the bubbling ichor flows into the vial.
Maybe it's the type of metal, or I have to be the one that inflicts damage.
Maybe. And as your wound closes up, she waits until the flow stops and very carefully pulls the vial away from you and wipes some of the excess off the rim before corking it. I'll have to run some studies on this. This is interesting.
If you can, see if you can find a cure. We have friends that have been infected, not the nice way, that we would like to save if we can.
Her expression kind of turns concerned again, almost as if she had completely forgotten, and looks back to you. What exactly does this stuff do to you?
As far as we're aware, what it does to us, we're not sure. What it can do to others, continue into a beast / demonic version of yourself.
Her eyes.
It's not you anymore.
Her eyes kind of widen, and she puts a finger to her lip as she kind of mumbles to herself. And finally, she says, somewhat quietly, but again, stage whispering for efficiency, "The people at the ball, I was hearing a lot of stories going around about shadow demons."
That could very well be it.
She leans back and crosses her legs the opposite way. If half of the stories are true, then it's definitely not just you guys.
Usually, the outcome is like a tar-like substance encasing the body with red, ruby-like eyes.
She closes her eyes and nods, committing it to memory, but as she does not have the implements on her to take notes properly, and opens her eyes and looks you directly in the eye. I'm guessing you want me to confirm whether or not Father has seen to it that I'm infected as well?
It did cross my mind, considering both Zephyr and Caleb have been infected as well. But usually, it only, as far as we can tell, it only happens once the host has died.
Well,
She gives a slow nod and waves her fingers to you. Out of knives, unfortunately. Mind if I...
Yeah, he will pass her a knife.
She smiles as she takes it and places her hand palm down on the tablecloth and carefully places the blade on the left side of her hand before, with startling viciousness and ferocity, slices across the back of her hand. A very nasty looking wound as red blood flows freely from her hand and stains the tablecloth beneath it as she leans to the side, seeming completely unfazed by the pain as she looks at you and kind of gives you a bit of a wry smile and says, "My father's a lot of things, but he wouldn't drag me into this."
Well, it seems he dragged Caleb and Zephyr into it.
She kind of gives a bit of a scoff. "They were adopted into the family. I'm his birth daughter. You really think he'd sell me out?"
Not willingly.
She shakes her head and kind of looks over her own wound with almost more of a curiosity as blood stains her hand.
Yeah, Gil's gonna reach into his bag and pull out a bandage and go to take her hand if she'll allow it.
She kind of hesitates a bit before slowly allowing you access to her hand. But as you bandage it, she just kind of watches you and says, "Lee,
Yes.
if you're interested in pursuing anything, I know it's difficult, but if you can't trust my family, then I can't trust you."
It's not that I don't trust them, but they haven't given me reason to trust them either.
"So you don't trust them?"
I need something to work with, you know. They already sold me out once.
She gives a kind of almost casual nod. "They sold you out, but they wouldn't sell me out."
Of course not.
She just watches for a while as you bandage her hand. And as the process completes, she waves her fingers a bit, still stained red, but otherwise unharmed, as she reclaims her hand and runs her fingers along the back of her hand, almost as if experimentally testing the bandages. "I understand that things between you and your family are complicated, Lee, but my family's all I have. And I can't," and she kind of gestures between the two of you, "if you're always going to be suspecting my father of doing something to me or doing something to you."
My main concern wasn't if your father had done anything to you. I just need to know that if you were infected, but I don't know exactly how it does happen. Just my theories. But since, in all essence of the word, your blood is pure, I now know I might have to, until I can find a cure, keep my distance.
She gives a slow nod. "Understandable. I'll do what I can to save you and my brothers both." And she kind
Focus
of
on your brothers first.
she gives a slight shrug and says, "I'll do what I can, but I'm not making any promises. I'm smart, but I'm smart enough to know that there are people smarter than me."
Yes, but I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
She gives a bit of a smile and says, "Flattery's only going to get you so far, Lee."
Just being honest.
She gives a bit of a chuckle and then stands up. "Well, I guess I better get started. I'll at least try to form some preliminary theories before my family leaves. I'm guessing you're not going to be staying for long?"
No. And if you'll pass on a message to your dad, I would advise leaving earlier than what he first planned.
She kind of gives a bit of a smirk and says, "I can't get much earlier than tomorrow night."
Yeah, you could leave today.
She kind of gives a bit of a shrug, and as she starts stepping away from the table, she kind of looks at you with a kind of scrutinizing raised eyebrow and says, "If my father's half as devious as you think he is, then I'm sure he's already accounted for our involvement. But rest assured, I can take care of myself." And she holds up her bandaged hand and clenches it into a fist before turning away, but she pauses before walking and says, "Make sure that Caleb is holding up okay. Zephyr is, you know, I'm sure he's already got a bunch of backup plans forming in his head, but Caleb, he's young and he's new to all this. If he's been hit like you said, then he's going to start freaking out, and he's not going to be helpful to anyone that way."
I promise I'll keep an eye on him.
"Thanks, Lee." And she kind of gestures a bit. "Now go on, get to safety, and what is it you soldiers like to call it? Tactical retreat?"
Yeah, he'll laugh at that and say, "Yes, ma'am," and give her a salute.
She kind of rolls her eyes a bit, but chuckles and begins heading back to the guest house.
After she goes inside, his smile's going to disappear and he's going to slump and head back.
All right. Gil returns to Nortwix in a slump. Zephyr and Caleb wait for the party to reassemble to discuss a plan of action.
Yeah, impatiently.
Lucian gradually composes themselves on the pelt of Garrow, while Caro waits patiently. Once you've calmed down, Lucian, are you content to head to Nortwix as well?
Yeah, I'll take some deep breaths and then double check the room, make sure I'm not missing anything. Touch my head with my hand, making sure my head's still there, and then head out.
All right. As the party begins to head in the direction of convening at Nortwix, Raccoon, easy enough to do. You've been there so many times throughout your life. You make your way to Dr. Watson's clinic. You want to just knock on the door?
Yeah.
You knock. And similar to Lucian, there's about a minute pause, 2. And just as minute 3 is about to pass and you're about to just start knocking incessantly, the door swings open and you see Watson in the same blue and gold outfit. And he looks down to you and smiles a bit. "Oh, I'm getting a lot of surprise visitors today. Hello, Raccoon."
Him looking at Raccoon, it's pretty easy to see she's a very pitiful sight right now. Her face is tear stained and she's just like frowning. It's very rare to see a frowning raccoon. And there's like dark bags underneath her eyes from lack of sleep and just watching. And she kind of looks up at him, her lips trembling, and she's, "I think Laura can make
His face falls into a frown, and he kind of nods and gestures for you to come in. Come in. I'll put on some tea." Do you enter the clinic? Sips? Might be having some issues. Take a moment to get a sip of water. Get some of that water.
Yeah.
Need to rehydrate.
hear me now?"
Oh, yeah, we
Mhm.
hear you.
Yep.
Sorry, where did I'm pretty sure I cut out at some point. Where did I cut out?
Well, you didn't cut. It's just like basically before, like you basically, yeah. He invited you inside and said he'll put on some tea. Do you want to enter or not?
And I said something. Did you hear what I said?
No, we didn't hear anything.
What? Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
what'd you say? Yeah.
Okay. She very obviously looks pretty pitiful. She's tear stained.
Mhm.
Her lip is trembling. It's very
And-
rare to see a frowning
Yeah,
raccoon.
very rare to see a sad
Yeah.
raccoon, and yeah.
Yeah. And she kind of looks up and she says, "I think Lorcan needs help."
And he gives you a nod and says, "I suppose it'll have to wait then." And he kneels down to look you in the eye, similar to what he had done with Zephyr, just squatting with his elbows on his knees to be able to be at your eye level with his very tall, lanky body. Raccoon, you've been seeing me for a very long time. You and Lorican both. You trust me, don't you?
I would have to make a very big deception roll if I said no.
Go for it. If you want to lie to this man.
Natural 20.
I'm gonna roll first and then decide.
All right.
what I'm gonna...
Just lie
Yeah,
to his
she
face.
can't lie. She's not gonna lie. She says, "There's been a lot going on, and I don't know what to trust anymore."
He gives a very understanding nod. Perfectly understandable. I'm sure it must be very difficult for you to see Lorcan in the state he's in right now. His injury from the guards is certainly not helping his naturally occurring allergies. But rest assured.
It's not allergies.
He gives a very calm smile and says, "Raccoon, I know it's difficult for you to understand, but rest assured he'll be perfectly fine. I have a dosage of medicine I'm planning to give him tomorrow morning, perhaps tomorrow afternoon, depending on my schedule, and I promise you it will cure him of his ailments."
She like frantically like grabs at his shirt sleeve and is like, "No, he needs help now. He's dying. I think he's..." And she's just like, it's getting harder to like tell what she's saying as she's like frantically just like crying about it, and she's like, "He's coughing up something black. It's not blood. I don't know what it is, and it's not allergies. This isn't allergies. I don't know what to do for him, and I think he's dying."
He gently grabs you by the shoulder and says, "Raccoon, I need you to listen to me." And he looks you in the eye as he speaks very calmly and slowly and says, "I can treat what is ailing him, but if we rush his treatment, it can make the problem worse. I assure you, Lorcan Telbront will be perfectly fine in a few days' time. This medicine should fix his problems," and he snaps his fingers like that.
"I don't think he has a few days' time."
He kind of sighs and pinches the bridge of his nose. And very well. I'll consider treating him tonight, but understand there's issues, both ethical and medical, with rushing treatment like this. It's not a decision I can make just because someone I care about is crying on my doorstep.
At this, you can just kind of see like she gets very hopeless and she just slumps.
He holds up a hand and says, "All these years I've been treating you, you need to learn to trust my professional opinion. I will see Lorcan treated in a few days' time. I will not leave this city until I am 100% certain his problems are dealt with."
I want to call him out on being calm, but I'm not going to say that. Say that. Raccoon just kind of she hugs herself and like her ears droop and everything, and just like it's very desolate, very pitiful looking, because it's like this happy creature should not be this sad, and now she is.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck. She just kind of curls in on herself and she says, I don't know what to do.
Watson smiles and pats you on the head. You don't need to do anything. Just be there, make sure whatever fluid it is that he's coughing up is cleaned properly, and I will be sure to give him his treatment before I leave the city.
She doesn't believe him.
Of course they don't. Why would you?
She doesn't nod. She doesn't answer. She just stands there.
He gives a smile and says, wait here for just a moment. And he steps up and closes the door gently. And do you stay while he does whatever he wants to do?
Yeah.
About a minute passes and he returns and crouches down with 3 of the lollipops he would give you after you visited him, and holds them out to you. I understand it's not much, but rest assured, I know he's in a very sorry state right now. His injury only exacerbated the problem, but he will be treated. You have my word as a doctor.
His injury.
Black eye.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, say that again. You cut out for me?
Austin was basically pointing out that he mentioned Lorcan's injury.
Yeah.
Okay, and so with that, she kind of takes a moment and she says, how did you know he had an injury?
He gives a bit of a smile and says, I was at the ball, you remember? From what I was told, he tried to get in under the name of somebody else who had already been there, and one of the Gyogrins got a bit trigger-happy, and he kind of mimes, hitting someone with the butt of a rifle, and kind of winces a bit. Very nasty from what I hear. Like I said, I'm sure it's not doing him any favors with his allergy problem, but it's nothing a doctor can't fix.
I want an insight.
Go for it.
Understandable.
Oh my God. Not 20.
Yay!
Believe it or not, he actually does seem to be telling the truth.
Dang.
Remember, that was the same story that Lorcan had told you, that he had just been trying to get into the party and then gotten smacked by one of the Gyogran soldiers. So
yeah, but now he's saying a different name while Lorcan was saying that he was trying to get in under his own name.
From what he hears, it's like someone's.
Basically, as far as by your best judgment, he is either telling the truth or at least believes he is.
Lorcan said he was trying to get in under his own name, but that somebody else had already come in on his.
He tilts his head aside. Now that is unusual. Suppose I'll have to investigate that. Can't have somebody impersonating one of my patients. And he kind of frowns and pulls out a notepad and kind of scritches down on it for a moment before returning it to his coat.
Listen, we have got to find out who snuck into that party under his name.
Meanwhile, his boyfriend is pretending to be his sister.
Can I insight
Well, that's
on
not his
whether or not he's
patience,
telling
so.
the truth? About
So you want? Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because a viewer might act like someone attentively watching actually might know the answer to this particular conundrum, and it's going to be so funny when it comes up.
I know it probably is,
Did
and I'm
Gil
going to be
use
so
that hat?
mad.
Well, Gil doesn't have a hat.
Not
he
anymore.
had the hat or something thing that would make him disguised.
Yep, but he doesn't
No,
have the
yeah.
hat. He gave it away
Gave it away.
just last night.
Well, he
That's,
just now gave it away.
19
I'm
with
saying,
modifier.
did he use that to get in the party?
No, he didn't.
No.
And it wasn't. I will say it wasn't Gil. Raccoon again seems on the up and up. Seems like he's genuinely as confused as you are about that particular issue and is interested in investigating it.
She nods and she says, it's probably for the best that he didn't come anyways. He's very
He gives a nod. Of course. I was rather surprised to hear he was attempting to attend in the state he's in. And he stands up. Do you take the lollipops he's offering?
Yes. But
as
I
you-
don't open them.
Of course. As you take the lollipops, he crosses his arms behind his back and gives you a smile. Chin up, Raccoon. Things will shape up soon. I'll do what I can for Lorcan.
She's going to kind of look up at him, and she kind of says, "Don't know what's going on. I really don't. But I, I want to believe you."
He gives a slow nod. I understand things are difficult. Things are difficult for everyone right now. But if you don't want to trust in me, then trust in science to do right by your father.
I feel like did this.
He gives a bit of a shrug. Well, depending on your perspective, science is responsible for all the good and the bad in the world. But the best thing we can hope to do is to fix the problems that are available to us. And he steps back into the threshold of his home and says, look forward to him being treated soon. For now, just look after him, but make sure you get some sleep yourself.
She just nods.
Goodbye, Raccoon. Take care of yourself and Lorcan.
By this time, they coming up on the tavern.
Oh yeah, but first, Raccoon, are you finished up here?
Yeah, she's just gonna be like, just grasping the lollipops in her hands, just kind of both in like a really hard grip, but also loosely. To where it's like she doesn't necessarily want to be holding them, but it's a lifeline at the moment.
Yeah. So, Dr. Watson closes the door, and you stare kind of distantly, clutching the lollipops in your hand. Lucian, Caro, and Garrow, and Gil begin returning to Nortwicks. After you take a moment to compose yourself, do you want to join them? Raccoon? Yep, lost them again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was me you were talking to.
Yeah. So are you good to return to Nortwicks as well?
Yeah.
All right. So, as the party seeming for the most part to have wrapped up their personal business in the city, you all return to Nortwicks, ready to convene at your usual table as the tavern's owner succumbs to the ink in the back room. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Dang, I was gonna tell off
to
Lucian.
Raccoon.
I want to tell off Lucian.
Yeah, we'd
I'll
already
save
gone.
it.
Yeah, just keep it in mind for next time. Yeah, we'd already gone over our usual
Alright.
time a bit, so figured I'd let everyone wrap up before returning to Nortwicks and then call it
To
there.
be fair, we
Oh
didn't
my
start till
God.
like 9:40.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but even then we went like a half hour over, so it's fine.
That shit
now,
was
You
heavy,
ended
man.
at 11. I thought you usually went 3 hours.
yeah, we usually do. So, like, unless my computer's clock is wrong, it's midnight 30. But yeah, so
We
for
didn't start till 9:45 or some shit.
Yeah, it was a little delay. Either way, it's still a good amount of time.
yeah, like it's a good.
It's about to stop.
So for my usual roundtable compliments, I mean, as usual, everyone did great, but
Yeah.
I mean, fucking props to Sips, obviously, right?
Yes, beautiful. Mwah.
Didn't really do anything.
Great
so-
thinking.
Oh yeah.
I want to drive 3 hours and go give her a hug.
And Lucian, I will give you props for that interesting bit of like yes or no game with Lucifer. A very clever way of wringing information out of him that in a way that he feels comfortable giving it to you.
And giving us a list of names.
So
My fucking notes.
yeah, so now you have a list that, to the best of your brother's knowledge, and assuming he's honest, of people involved with the Concord.
Including my dad.
Uh, And so if you two don't already have inspiration, add that. Again, everyone did great. Just,
Inspiration doesn't stack, does it?
it does not.
Yeah, depending on DM.
Yeah, well,
Like I said, she
it
did
doesn't-
spend hers, so you got it back.
Yeah, and yeah, it doesn't stack on D&D Beyond, so I just have it not stack in
Yeah,
general.
generally it doesn't, but I mean, I don't think another person
yeah, but-
I know does
and-
it.
But yeah, and again, don't interpret not being given inspiration saying you did poorly. Everyone did great, and yeah, like I know some people. Again, it was mostly just because, like, for you and Zephyr both, it was a lot of just. But I did also genuinely enjoy you and Zephyr's moment before the first long rest. Like again, everyone did well. Everyone had their moments. Just some people
I
had
will
like
say that,
personal.
like the whole time he was, Gil was talking to Summer. I was like, what if she's gonna mention her brothers at all?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, yeah,
she-
notice how he really got her attention by pointing out that both of you had been hit already. Speaking of which, speaking of people being hit, I'm going to go ahead and, just because I highly doubt at this point you guys are going to piece it together on your own and it's not super plot relevant. Raccoon, the person who impersonated Lorcan at the party was you.
Shit.
I
But
must not
wait,
have watched
Raccoon's
that
name was
one.
on it. She didn't say that her name was Lorcan. She said that her name was Raccoon.
Well, your name was not. You said that you were gonna be like you'll be kind of like under. You pretty much are working with.
Yeah, which
Lucy.
would. I
Yeah,
guess,
she-
No,
because she could
you
take a
used
cut.
Raccoon at the tournament. You used Lorcan at the ball.
No, she
But
said that
she-
she was
I
Lorcan's
said-
+1.
Yeah, literally said I was Lorcan's +1.
But
at
in
the
all
beginning.
fairness, wasn't it like an orc or like a troll that was taking attendance?
It was a giant. Most of the people
Yeah.
like
I mean,
higher ups.
I might still be in Lucian's mindset, but like, I mean, intelligence, hi.
Intelligence.
Because like I swear Raccoon said that she was Raccoon. She was like Raccoon, and then
No, yeah,
Lorcan
like,
was
but
Lorcan's
yeah,
+1.
as Amanda was pointing out, that you were talking to someone who doesn't speak common super well. So basically, from their perspective, somebody using the name Lorcan got into the party, so they chalked you under Lorcan's name. So when he tried to enter after you, they assumed he was trying to get in under a fake name.
Oh
Okay,
my
well now I
goodness.
feel stupid, but Raccoon's not going to know this, so she's going to continue the search.
Yeah, no, I figured it wouldn't have.
The party is going to be searching for some dude who used the name Lorcan for the rest of the campaign.
Maybe.
And like, it turns out it was just a mistake. So there was no person.
No, yeah, like
Lorcan.
that was part of the reason basically because I figured you guys wouldn't realize it, and I had no real organic way to explain it, and I didn't want you guys to like get super caught up in this like red herring.
No, let us.
I-
You should have let us.
Ser-
And we would
seriously,
have felt
I
so
thought it-
stupid.
Matthew, it's not a red herring. It's a herring took, painted red, and said, "Hey, look, a red herring."
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, my problem is that I have no reason, like not even like on you guys as players. How could I possibly set up? Like nobody like was with you other than the Tebadrins when you when you got in, and even then, Raccoon,
There
you
was.
went ahead.
There was.
That's when you ask the orc.
Yeah,
that
but
took the names, and he's
are you
like,
going to be able to
"You."
find him?
Maybe.
But Matt,
Find
there
that
was one
specific
person.
orc.
And what, Jeremy?
There was another person. The guy in the brown coat and feathered hat.
No. He was there with the general. But my point is that like whenever Raccoon gave their name as being associated with Lorcan, because Raccoon and Lucian had gone ahead of the group, so even the Tebadrins couldn't really give much testimony on the matter.
I know, it's
I
just
feel
that's
stupid.
who I thought was stealing Lorcan's name.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to point out
I've
because
been
just
like wondering this whole time of like, why would somebody steal Lorcan's name?
I just thought, oh hey, someone did something.
Wasn't easy.
yeah. So I mean, feel free to have your character. It's just like basically, I had to pull a Matt Mercer with the chair in the ship. Like, guys, like pursuing this isn't actually
Chair.
plot relevant. Don't get distracted.
Well,
Guys,
Zephyr's
it's
not
a
gonna
chair.
care,
Yeah,
so.
but now even still, Raccoon's gonna be asking around about it.
No, yeah. Basically, I just wanted to make it clear to you as the like. I like. It's funny whenever I point it out, but like it would have been a lot less funny if you guys had dedicated like sessions upon sessions. Like, oh man, I can't wait for the conclusion of that plot, only to then find out.
That's when you take your chance and pull a plot twist that nobody sees coming.
I suppose that's fair, but yeah. So
yeah, you should have definitely waited, because then, oof. If you waited
You could
and
have had
revealed
an
that
idea
to
after this.
yeah,
You
if
could have had an idea after this.
yeah, but I just have a kind of a personal rule as a DM of like not like basically I try to have everything set up going in and then like only improv from there. Like it's one thing to have like a minor character be kind of improvised, but like basically it would have for me personally harmed the integrity of based purely on this kind of side gag like introduced a whole new plot point.
I think you should try it for, because then if that would have been revealed to Raccoon would then have to like realize, oh, I got him hurt.
Yeah, I mean, at least he wasn't like shot or something. He just like.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Might-
so I'm
might
not
have
looking
been a
forward to her
kinder
realizing
fate.
that.
But yeah, so I mean, I'll keep this in mind for future reference. It's just like basically like it's just not my DMing style to like throw something in, especially something like basically minor character is one thing. I'm just not really comfortable as a DM, like you know, like being like, oh, like, you know, throw in something completely arbitrarily that wasn't there to begin with, but is now, you know. But yeah, but I will keep that in mind going forward. Like, it's just like basically I personally would have been disappointed with anything I could have come up with, just because like I would know in the back of my mind that it was all like last minute just to actually give that whole red herring some relevance. Anyway, thanks all of you.
It's a herring that we painted.
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, so thanks everybody so much for watching. Thanks all of you so much for playing. And we'll see you all next
We
week.
should call this the herring that was
Bye.